It is indeed my honor and my pleasure to welcome Sam. Sam Yau, welcome to the show. Sam is a executive and a poet. He just launched his book this week, and the book has become a #1 international bestseller. And I am going to have him actually tell you a little bit about himself so that he can paint a picture about how he got to where he got to, starting from China, right? So I always like to put the map here with the countries marked because we have an international audience and it's good to give context to everybody so that we know where each other is coming from. And so with that context, and knowing that Sam is an accomplished business executive, investor, sits on boards, and he's also a poet and a writer who's trying to transform lives through his poetry. Sam, why don't you take a couple of minutes and kind of introduce yourself in your own way?
Okay, I have moved around in my life with surprises, uh, but along the way, I'm always ready to change. So in some way, I'm very adjustable. In some way, looking at what is my passion and what I'm good at. We just saw that. And actually, there's an evolution of purpose. My purpose changes. It's almost like a pilgrimage. You walk around, but it's not a straight road. There's turns and twists. And sometimes when you make a turn, you are suddenly into a new environment. And then you look at what's happened around you, how you feel inside. And a lot of time, what driving our purpose is the people we meet, who has a profound impact on us. And so my family had to run away from the communists in China. That's a long time ago. So, but just telling you that I betrayed my own age. And then we pretty much, it's the last boat out. The next boat was captured. So grew up in Hong Kong, and I went to Chicago for my MBA. And the right thing to do at that time is focus on my career. So I got an MBA. I was in the business world, and I did get to become a CEO of a company, and so this, and then something happened, and it was a successful turnaround. There's something calling me inside me and say, it's time for me. I needed to embark on a journey for personal spiritual growth, because there's a desire deep inside me I put on a shell in order to pursue a career. There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, this is part of the journey. And so from there, I learned a lot. I came from Christian family, but I started to think, I want to find out more about other religions. And so I have a great time exploring different wisdom traditions in the world, and then come to my own play as to what spirituality means. And then 4 years ago, my son committed suicide. So anybody who has that experience, there's something drastic that happened inside you. And suddenly all my interests drop away. And then I asked the question, so I know my son is alive, is in the spiritual realm, and I want to be close to him. So the question is, How can I be close to him? I want to feel him. And so I say, this is the time. He's a spirit, and I am a spirit in the human realm. And so I really need, at this point in time, figure out, what do I want to do with my life? And there's the question suddenly came to me: what if I live as a spirit in the human form, rather than as a human who has a soul? So I always know I am a soul, I am a spirit. I came from that realm and I will be going back, and my son is there. So that question, has very significant effect on me. Once I make that and say, okay, show me, I want to see the world as a soul see the world. And what's going to happen? Guide me. And pretty soon I get the messages, that I need to heal myself. And I started to write poems. I got messages too, very surprising messages from strange sources, and from Ryan putting words in my mind. And that is I'm going to be a healer with words. And so I started writing poetry, and within 3 months, that's about 2.5 years ago, within 3 months, I got people coming into my life, including, a poetry coach. Now, remember, I'm a business person. I had never written a serious poem all my life.
Just memos, right? Just business memos.
Just business memo, boring stuff for me, at that time. And the coach come to my life, and an artist come into my life and say, Sam, I just show her one poem, and she loved it right away and said, can I be your illustrator? Yeah, it ended up, she's a great, I can show you some of her painting. So I have a partner who can paint visually images inspired by my poem. And then I sent my poem to a group of friends, a small group of friends, and they feedback to me that, my poems inspired them, were healing, and they just kept encouraging me to publish it. So, so I published it just a week ago, and it's the launch. And so I'm so grateful. He become the #1 international bestseller. Just beyond my expectation. I was following the footsteps of Cass, and so I'm in a kind of strange world, from refugees and coming to this country with only pennies in my pocket, and get my MBA, become a CEO, and also become the chairman of Excellent Institute. Some of you know that, which is, a iconic a pioneer growth center, teaching classes of personal and spiritual growth. And then these things happen, and I make another big turn and became a poet.
That is such an amazing journey. And as you're narrating the story, we've talked about this before, such commonality in our journeys, right?
Yeah.
Child refugee, seeking an education, life happening, and, events and situations and people influencing us to get to different places. So a couple of things you mentioned resonated with me, Sam.
Mm-hmm.
One is the fact that making a decision to live as a soul that happens to be in a body instead of a body that happens to have a soul, right? And so that is something I totally resonate with. And to me, that also reminds me, if more of us lived that way, we will not see the divisions among us because the soul has no color, no race, no gender, no religion, no ethnicity. And so the more of us choosing to live that way, we don't need to have diversity and equity and inclusion and, all these special programs we seem to have for people to recognize that it's okay to look different, because we stop seeing the difference and seeing the one thing that is common among us.
Yes.
So to me, that is a very, very powerful message. And the fact that your book is titled Soul's Journey, tell me about how you came up with that name for the book.
Well,
because soul is not a word that we in the business world use, right?
yes. Yes. Well, it's part of a personal and spiritual journey where I came to know my deeper identity.
Mm-hmm.
So as I go through the journey and I look around the world, and then the search for the question, who am I? It is a fundamental, philosophical, but actually, it's important for us to know who am I on a deeper level.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and all religion, any people, on the spiritual path, will also come to that conclusion, and that we are more than our physical body. And what is the soul? The soul, put it in some simplest way, the soul is that part of us, who actually asked the question, who am I? It asks the question, asks our mind. So we have our brain, or we call the small mind, which develop an identity as we grow up. We're picking up from all our environments, and we have identity, and those identities shift, all right, over time. But as we ponder deeper, who am I, and we always come to the question, there's something bigger. And I realize that the soul actually is connected to the divine, and my soul actually know what is my purpose, what I'm coming here in this life for. But there's a generic purpose as well. So is the voice inside us who asking the question, what is my meaning?
Mm-hmm.
What is my purpose in life? Why I am here and where I am going? And so the voice is asking that question, is your soul urging you to seek self-discovery.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what the soul is. And the soul also already is huge, is because it's connected to divine. Mm-hmm. So our journey in this world is to learn how to love and expand our circle of love, so that our heart become more compassionate. Yes. And our mind is more inclusive. So that's a journey. We become bigger and bigger. Mm-hmm. And then at a certain point of time, we feel the oneness with everybody else. And when we have that feeling, then it's organic. We don't even, this is organic. You don't need to, it's natural and organic that you have no divisions. You have no bias based on age, gender, races. You don't need to even make program, because it becomes something naturally arising from your deep being. Yes. And your soul. That's your soul.
So I love the fact that you mentioned it is getting to know the divine within you, right? The most important relationship any of us are going to have is the relationship of the divine within us. And that is the journey of self-discovery. That is the core of building emotional intelligence, literally, because you need to become aware. Each of us have to become aware of ourselves. And that from that awareness stems everything we do and how we show up in the world. So I love the fact that you called it the divine within.
Yes.
And I can completely relate to it because I come from a part of the world where we greet each other this way. In my language, we say "Vanakkam." I know I have my Sri Lankan friends here in this other language that's spoken in Sri Lanka. We say "Aibowan." And in India, we say "Namaste," right? And what it literally means is my soul recognizes your soul, because when I see you, I see the light, love, and the truth in you. And in that point of recognizing the light inside of you, we are one because we're coming from the same source.
Yes.
So
Beautiful.
we didn't grow up saying hi or bye or high five, right? So for some of us, it's how we live. The first time somebody asked me to give them a five, I said, sorry, I don't have change. I really thought they were asking me for $5, right? So culturally, we're also wired differently, but how can we bridge that divide, and how can we seek our inner divineness? And in that process, how we can become open-minded. And you said that so beautifully, Sam. Thank you so much for that. And so as we think about how Sam and Sam's words and Sam's poetry is going to influence us, we also want to think about how comfortable are we talking about a soul in a business day-to-day Western environment. About 13 years ago, I published a leadership model with the title Leading with Your Soul. Everybody thought I was like a religious figure. I'm like, no, I'm a finance executive. But if you lead from your soul, then you're always centered. And I've gone on to do a lot of research, a lot of work around it. And I love the fact that I'm not the only one thinking about a soul or a soul's journey and how to lead with the soul coming from the business world. So I am eternally grateful to have Sam here talking about it, because now I don't feel like I'm the weirdo, right? So Sam, do you want to pick a poem that you like and read it for us so that we can talk about it and go a little deeper? Are you open to that?
Yeah, yes, yes. So, well, okay, okay, I'm going to do this poem. Let me, okay, all right. So I'm going to just recite it for you.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And do not let anyone tell you to live someone else's life. Do not let anyone tell you to live someone else's life. You have a gift to co-create your special life with the divine. Let the spark in you shine. Live and dance like a unique spirit. Shape your inner world with quality that bring you delight. Live inside out. The outside world would coalesce into your design. Do not let anyone tell you to live someone else's life. Listen to your inner voice from your soul and let it guide you. Trust it. Living the authentic you will bring you freedom and joy. Claim it. Let the spark in you shine. Live and dance like a unique spirit. You are a soul incarnated in the human school to learn to love. You are frozen light that soon will take the soaring flight. Do not let anyone tell you to live someone else's life. Already, already connected to the source, turn it on and drink it in. Angels are always there to help. If you let your intuition align, let the spark in you shine. Live and dance like a unique spirit. You have been knocking at the door from the inside all your life. Turn around. You are perfect and totally lovable. Live it. Do not let anyone tell you to live someone else's life. Let the spark in you shine. live and dance like a unique spirit. That's the end of the poem.
Beautiful.
Beautiful. That was very lovely. That's moving,
Yeah.
actually.
Beautiful. So I am curious, as you all, the group here, the Goldilocks community, as we sit and listen, what does that evoke? What kind of emotions, what kind of, purpose does that evoke in you?
It reminds me of the need to have courage, because to live your own life is one of the most courageous things that you can do, because there are a lot of people out there got plenty of lives they want you to live. It's the courageous person that lives his own life.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mike. Sam, so when you hear Mike say that, is that something that you expected as a reaction to reading your poetry, or you're just open to embrace how it hits every person differently?
I think it's going to hit person differently. I got a lot of response to this because a part of our life, we're mostly driven by the outside world. We want to conform, and
Yes.
that's part of our journey. And it takes a while for us to realize, we're living for somebody else's expectation. In the Asian society, a lot of it is parent and society.
Oh my God, yeah.
Yeah, it's very, very strong. But that's part of the thing about living in the soul, because your soul know exactly why you are here. You come here to be unique. So the beautiful thing is that you are both one with everybody else, but living in the soul allow you to live your unique gift that you come here with. And because you know your purpose, like the diagram you show, you know what you are good at, and you love it, and your soul know you have a gift to share with the world who needs it. So that's beautifully said. And it's not what anybody else tell you, and you will have joy when you live your purpose, unique purpose.
Sam, has anybody asked you, how do I get to a place where you are so that I can start understanding and relating to my soul? Because it's not a concept everybody understands. And I sometimes feel like it's easier when you come from the Eastern world, because you're introduced to some of these things growing up culturally, societally.
Mhm. So so one way, is to recognize that the soul speak to us internally, but they also, the word synchronicity, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and so that's so soul is like a gentle voice. Sometimes it come in as a thought. Sometimes actually come in a voice that when you are quiet down, you almost have to be quiet to listen to your inner voices from the soul. And that's why all the mindfulness practice, all the meditation practice, you almost have to go inside, because the world is full of distraction. Look at the social media, man, this world, everybody is kind of looking around, and how do I respond? How can I be successful? And so if you are too, all the time you are externally driven without the time of being in a quiet place, and do a little bit, a meditations, or just silence, and you will hear it. First, you have to believe it, because you cannot hear from from any place where, from anyone you don't believe it, from any source. You got to know you have a soul, and you are open to receive. And then what happened is that, and if you align your purpose, let's say you are into this process for a while, you align with your purpose, you can see a lot what happened in the outside world will actually coalesce and give you support. It's pretty amazing. Once you align, it's like the whole universe is going to cooperate with you, and you're running into people and event and connection that would heal you, who guide you on your journey. What's your life purpose and how to live it.
And I love the way you say that, because a lot of times it's human nature to chase success. But what you are talking about is just take a journey within and connect with your divine, and then live your purpose, and everything you need will come to you. And so in a way, the way I am translating it is the energy we put out into the universe, because we are living as a soul, attracts other things, right? So my favorite poet is Rumi from the old Persian world. And Rumi talks about how what we seek is seeking us. It's basic physics, right? So what we put out there is getting attracted to us. And therefore, when we live a certain way, we attract more of that.
Yes.
So kind of explains why always my glass is half empty friends are always going to be unhappy, because that's what they are seeking. They're not seeking the glass half full, right? So coming from a business world, and you're still straddling, you're on the board of businesses, you're in the business world while living in your spiritual centeredness. How do you see yourself having transformed the old Sam, the pre-transformation Sam, versus the post-transformation Sam who truly lives as a soul? How do you see the difference between those two? Because that might help people kind of relate to what it could be.
Yeah, in the business world, but they have different language, but there's a new language now. It's called become more conscious, and there's a movement called conscious capitalism. And the leader of that, like John Mackey, who's the CEO of Whole Foods, at one time was a partner with me, and I organized 4 years of conscious capitalism conference, with 20 CEO, for 4 years in a row. And we're talking about how the business world need to be transformed, so that in addition to be profitable, they got to have a purpose. And it's a purpose for the society. So they're talking about the model of profit maximization, which all of us know, which benefits shareholders, which benefit the top management who has a lot of stock option. So that's the old model. The new model is conscious capitalism. It's called the stakeholder model, where it's not just a shareholder, which is important. They need to get a return. It's not just the CEO become very rich, and or management, including management. So it's stakeholder. That's all stakeholder. A corporation need to work, not just for the shareholder, is to make sure the employee, the supplier, of course, customer is always there, right? Customer and the community and the environment. So it's win, 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 win. So it's a stakeholder model. So it's kind of spreading, not fast enough. There's a lot of chapter around the world. So the way I look at it in the business world, if you are center, if you are balanced, you speak from inside, is you would have a very high level emotional intelligence. And it's already something that's 20 years more. People know now to promote people with who have emotional intelligence. And so is and social intelligence. So you don't have to use the language which you use in your daily life. You can use the language of business success because things are going to happen. You would arise as a leader just because you have the energetic attraction of people. Cassie yourself is a model. People just don't understand. They just like to work with you. And the same I am. I'm very low profile when I was a CEO, but people love to work with me. I don't need to talk to them with the language. So and there's the realizing that our physical body is only one layer of us. We have multiple energy layer bodies around us, which Eastern tradition knows, but the Western tradition doesn't. And so those energy field, are actually are talking to each other. Before you come into a room, before you meet somebody, your energy field is already talking. That's why you are attracted to somebody because your energy is talking. People come into the room and then you get attracted to somebody. It's amazing that this physical realm is just the tip of the iceberg, of the total reality of who we are. The more you dive into it, the more fascinating it is. The world is huge.
Yes.
And we are way more than our physical body.
Yes. So I am going to open it up to see if any of you have any questions, any thoughts, anything you want to share based on the insights and nuggets of wisdom Sam is sharing with us.
I love the idea of kind of having the soul at work, because one of the things, a phrase that I've heard that I really kind of resonate with me is life work balance is a little bit of an oxymoron because it's all life.
Yeah.
It's bringing our entire self to work that allows us to be successful, that allows us to take chances, and to actually be able to reach other people. And I love what Sam was just saying about kind of the energy and how it interacts with people, because, I think it's very true that people like, or people's energy searches out other people's energy. And when we find that likeness, that similarity, that kindred spirit, if you will, I think it really just resonates. And that's why we have those really impactful connections.
Beautifully said. Thank you so much, Jeff.
I'll just share something real quick, Cass. And the notion of your whole self at work in this day and age of COVID, where everyone is, or many people are at home, that we suddenly our life outside of work suddenly becomes part of work. I know my neighbor next door, I live in a duplex townhouse, and the neighbor next door said that it used to be that if a child, if your child happened to, wander into a screen, it's like, oh my gosh, I'm going to get fired. Whereas now everyone realizes, oh yeah, people have kids, people have dogs, people have cats. And so that is part of our work, and that's part of who we are, bringing that to work. And so I think that's something valuable to know as well. And also in the business world, I think that especially with this pandemic, that these what used to be called soft skills are now being thought of as power skills, and they're the things that definitely impact your work and impact your life inside and outside of the office. So it's very, very true.
And I am glad you brought that soft skill as a power skill, because relationship building today is not about looking at people eyeball to eyeball and, getting to know somebody and going to a bar or a restaurant and sitting down and eating and getting to know one another. Those days are gone. I mean, Sam, you and I have never met in person, but we've become such friends, right? But it's all through talking and this medium of exchange that is, technology and internet. But if we are able to show up authentically as ourselves, then it doesn't matter the medium, we're able to connect. Sam, were you going to say something, Mike?
Yeah, it's about openness too. I think we need to leave ourselves open to our friends and strangers. Martin Buber was a Jewish theologian, and he talked about the I thou, where during World War II, you know, everybody runs to the bomb shelters to seek shelter. They're terrified because, you know, death is impending, and those moments often there is a meeting. So someone across the room, their eyes meet your eyes or another eyes, and they find sudden comfort there, just for that interest or for that instance that they have found comfort. And I think that's about openness, being open, and it helps us through life. It helps us find our purpose, perhaps.
Mm-hmm. So when you say I thou relationship, when you connect with that soul across the room by sight or by that energy connection, you create then I thou relationship between these two strangers that then allows you to transcend the circumstance you're in.
Yes.
Okay.
And gives you comfort.
Mm-hmm.
So that it's a terrifying situation is at least bearable for a moment.
Thank you. Thank you for that, Mike. Sam, so what thoughts do you have based on what's being said here?
I go back to what I said, that we have a different layer of energy field surrounding us, and they are part of us. And if your heart is open and you're a loving person, and if your mind is big, you're very inclusive. In those situations, actually, there's people who can see the energy field, would see your energy field is huge compared to ordinary people. You can see the whole spectrum. So when you step into the room, you stay into the room with your entire energy field. And people are drawn and attracted to you, but they don't know why. I mean, if you are a compassionate being, and you're very inclusive, big mind, big heart, that's what I call. And you walk around and people just sense it. They just like you and they don't know why. Okay, so you carry that power with you. That's how the spiritual teacher, you know, they help, you know, when they have a meeting and people just, you know, just sit in the presence of energy field. Now, of course, we're talking about these things the scientific world do not recognize. So I want you to know that. But you know, I have a lot of people who can see aura. I have friends, okay, who can see aura, and they can see how big it is. So everything we do, we are growing not only our physical body, we are growing our whole being, and you carry that being into the business world. You have a power you don't even know, but you know, in some way, if you have big energy field, you already are very, very intuitive. Okay.
So
yeah. Yes.
question comes to my mind. So you know that you are centered, you have a big heart, a big mind, you walk in, people are attracted to you, but not everybody understands why. And each person is going to interpret it from their own frame of reference.
Yes.
And we are living in a world where most people live in this physical being and this physical environment. So I'm going to ask you a question that you can laugh, but I really want to understand this part of it too, because there are people who deal with this situation. So when you are in a mixed crowd and people are attracted to you, that can also cause other problems. Because if you're in a mixed gender crowd and people are attracted to you and they don't know why, and you're trying to be in your big mind, big heart place, there are situations where other people can misunderstand it and misread it. Happens to me all the time, which is why I'm asking, I want a male perspective of this, right? So
Yeah.
how does one deal with that? Because when you're coming from a big mind, big heart place, you don't want to put anybody down. You don't want to kill their spirit. whatever you say or do, you want to be gentle, right? Because that's being true to you are who you are. How do you handle those situations?
Well, depend on the kind of attraction, right? And the attraction is they want to be on your team. So they break out in team. They want to be on your team. They want to sit next to you, and that's all good. But you're talking about some kind of attraction, something else other than business related.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's business related, it will really enhance the culture, the team spirit. So that's all positive. But you're talking about the attraction that you really don't want. Is that what?
Yeah. And then how do you deal with it in a mindful way without destroying the other person?
Well, you just have to respond proportionally to what the circumstances, and you can respond in such a way that the boundary become, it's clear. There's some skill in terms of establishing boundary when you attract people, and without hurting people, but it can be very clear. I would not know, I mean, how to articulate it. Just, over a period of time,
You figure it
how to
out.
deal with a situation without hurting. Yeah, yes. But
So
yeah,
why don't
I'm
you?
saying that the commingling of all those energy fields actually become the foundation of the informal culture of a corporation. And the secret success of a lot of company is not what they say on the website, what is their mission, what is their goals. A lot of the secret of success, I love is a culture where people feel they are working in a creative environment, and they are working in a caring environment. They enjoy every morning looking forward to be working in the office with the company of his fellow co-worker, and they are allowed to be creative because of their energetic interaction, which is invisible. But the people who are spiritual around, they some of them have the ability, they can see the energy field. It will be beautiful color. It will be, dancing waves. And there's a lot more there in the invisible world than the visible.
Yes, very true. Because believing is not just what you see, right? What you feel and what you sense. So as you are talking about the energy and the energy of a team that comes together, can you talk a little bit about how egos are at play in the workplace? And when there are egos and then there are these energy fields, how that can be most effectively managed? Because sometimes it is set up for a clash.
Yes. Yeah. So let me define ego is a constructed self-identity that is needed for us to navigate a competitive world. So what we want people have a strong ego, but a healthy ego. So the strong, maybe a better word is healthy ego. And healthy ego means someone who have developed a sense of self, and knowing that is success in the business world. So I talk about business person's ego now in the business environment. But you also know that his success is depending on the cooperation of all the other team members moving towards a common goal for the company. And so that's a balanced ego, it's balanced. And so an extremely selfish person with a strong ego, they're going to create problem in the meeting, in the environment, because those are the people who usually want to bring other people when things are not going well, or or grab the credit from somebody else instead of giving the credit to other people. And I think it's part of the emotional skill for people who have, a healthy ego, and also, living in their soul, to have the wisdom to deal with this kind of situation as it arises, because you really don't have a general formula, because it's all situational, right? In terms of like that. But I would say, depending on the culture, actually some culture encourage that kind of ego, which is not really good for the business. But for some business, they encourage that, and that make it a very difficult environment for people to work in. But their success is depend on superhero in the organization, and so each organization has its own culture. You have to just, if you're in that culture, you just have to deal with it as situation arises, and then ask yourself the question: do I want to stay in this?
That's true.
What's my soul's telling me?
Yeah.
Right.
So part of selecting to remain in an environment or move to an environment is there resonance and congruence
Oh,
at
that's a
that
good word.
deeper
Resonance.
level, or is it just a job, right? That's the deeper choice we have to make.